Sunday Live here with the Average Joe Sports Show. That is the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, the Pratt of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, Mr. Mustache. It's Elijah Herbel and Chris Schmidt. Good to be with you here on the Average Joes. Check us out, like and subscribe on YouTube. Find on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. It is Michigan week, and Nebraskans, you stayed up for it. You celebrate. You salute Bud Crawford. God, that was fun last night watching. And, Doleman and I are like, is the fight started yet? Is the fight started yet?
Why? Because they were playing band before they had the walkouts?
A little bit. I mean, there was a concert. Got to see a great finish with A&M and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
With Borkacher's touchdown catch. So it was
Richter.
Yeah. And then also, go check out Nebraska. We all huddled up yesterday for the Houston Christian pregame, but hell, it's Michigan week now. Can't wait for it. We'll get our starting 5 shout-outs here with the Sunday Live Average Joe Sports Show. But Sharpie, you're up in Omaha, Bud. You've covered and seen Bud Crawford's career continue to explode. And wasn't that long ago we were down in the rail yard at PBA covering Crawford's fight in Lincoln. I mean, it's been a while, but that was an incredible experience. But man, the exclamation point last night against Canelo Alvarez, it was just phenomenal to watch. And I mean, it was so intense from round 1 to the final round.
It was it was a pretty good day. If you were Nebraskan yesterday, you got to see one beat down in Lincoln, another beat down in Vegas. It was for Bud. I mean, I'm so happy for him. Man, he hadn't fought in over 400 days. He's going to be 38, actually 2 weeks from yesterday. He jumped up 2 weight classes to take on a guy that if Canelo beats Bud, he's probably considered the greatest Mexican boxer of all time. You got 70,000 people there last night, and 68,000 of them, it's in Canelo's adopted hometown. Bud did in that fight what Bud Crawford has done since I've started watching him, and I'm one of thousands in this state that were brought into boxing because of one guy, and that's Bud Crawford. But his preparation and his execution and just the whole mental part, along with the left hand and other things that he does, man, that was all encompassed in 12 rounds last night. He left no doubt. I don't care that there were 2 judges that said 115, 113. It's Vegas. It's bullshit. There's bogus. There's corruption. But Bud was the better fighter. And man, if that's the way to go out, all I can think about, it's going to be tough getting all those belts through TSA today.
And good point on the scorecards. I'm no boxing expert. I had it 117, 113. I thought Bud took 7 of the 10 rounds. I saw an argument you could give Canelo the first, maybe the 5th, and I think it was the 10th. But Bud was kicking his ass every other round. I mean, it was not close. Bud was on another level. And not to be overreactionary here, but that's a fight last night that makes me think. I think in terms of American boxing royalty, it goes Ali and Bud Crawford, right? Maybe that's an overreaction just because what I saw last night, but he's undefeated, 3-division undisputed champion. In his career, he moved up from what was it, 133 all the way up to 168. No one's ever done that before. What he has done in his career is second to none, and no one's ever done that to Canelo Alvarez. I know there's been some people that have beat Canelo Alvarez. No one has done that to Canelo Alvarez.
Like I grew up in the Ali era, and at a time when we got to watch the fights. Pay-per-view is what really killed boxing. When they started putting them on, you had to pay $100, and you had to gather around your buddy's house. And Netflix might save boxing if it's that accessible to people. But I grew up watching, Ken Norton and Ali on Wide World of Sports. You'd see Sugar Ray Leonard fight. You'd see Hagler fight. You'd see Hearn fight. They all did pay-per-views and all that. But look, I'm not a boxing expert either, although I've watched a ton of it, love it. Ali's great, but he dubbed himself the greatest, right? And he's the most culturally significant athlete maybe of all time, worldwide even. Most recognizable athlete maybe of all time worldwide. But in terms of boxing and the sweet science, Bud Crawford might be the smartest fighter I ever saw, and he outsmarted Canelo and so many other opponents over his career. I did not see Lewis. I didn't see Sugar Ray Robinson. But if you're talking about the greatest fighters of all time, Bud Crawford has the keys to the room, and he lets the others in. And I would probably say Robinson and Lewis are probably in that category.
Yeah,
Ali's the greatest showman in boxing history and a great champion. But Bud Crawford, to do what he did at that age and move up that high in weight classes is amazing. Nobody else would do that.
Yeah, I think he's the top boxer of our generation. And there's no doubt. You know, the thing that really makes it special is Nebraska has embraced Bud, and Bud has embraced Nebraska. And I'm not just talking about the football program, like the entire state, but the football program is going above and beyond. And you saw their display yesterday. After the game, Rule and Dannon and their wives, they fly out to Vegas. They're there last night. There was quite the celebrities of Omaha that were there. Greg McDermott, the basketball coach at Creighton, he was out there as well. But, you know, the thing about Bud, and it's funny about Bud, when I first got to know him, man, he's a little scrawny dude. And through a friend, Damon, we got to really develop a relationship with B&B, his boxing club here in Omaha, and Bud and Bo Mack and his entire crew. And 10 years ago, that crew that was with Bud that was in the ring, they were there last night. So they've stayed the entire time. And Bud's never forgotten about Omaha. I mean, heck, guys, he lives here. He lives out in West Omaha. He's got a nice compound. You know, and you see him around, like he'll pop up at high school basketball and high school football games, you know, because he knows the kids. He'll go to his boxing club and hang out. I mean, you'll see him in the grocery store. I mean, he's one of us, even though he really isn't. So I think that's what makes it more special is when he says he's from Omaha, he really is from Omaha. And guys, I mean, it's got to be on the table, right? That when the doors open up next Saturday or this upcoming Saturday in Lincoln, that Bud Crawford with his 600 belts, he's going to be carrying them out through the tunnel walk, right?
Well, but Bud can just do what he wants. If Bud wants to, do what you want, Bud.
You're going to need a little help. I mean, I remember the end of the fight where the announcement's made and, you know, Bud's on a knee and in disbelief that finally this fight happened and I got the result I worked so hard for. And then they're putting all the belts on, the Ring magazine. Canelo's people are giving him the ring. I mean, it was incredible. And just back to the fight, and social media can be good and terrible. It was so good to see different postings of one of the most iconic punches and sequences. We all know the picture of Ali standing over Liston. I mean, that when you think of boxing, that's what you see, at least for me. But the picture of Crawford's shot to Canelo's head, where he turns and spins, it's almost cartoonish, and it's a slow motion. I mean, that is going to be replayed till the end of time. I mean, that the hit that Canelo took, and really the exclamation point that Bud was able to show, yeah, I can go up in weight class and I can trade devastating punches with you, because that was the narrative. Well, it's just going to take one shot for Canelo to put Bud down, and Canelo really never got that shot, and the punches that he did throw, Bud was able to absorb, and he was always able to counter back and deliver some own vicious shots. And that one's iconic.
Bud said after the fight that Canelo was not the hardest puncher he's ever faced, which who knows, maybe that is just a factor of coming up to 168 and your body's a little bit differently. But he said, I have faced harder punchers in my career than Canelo Alvarez. That was not the story. As for Canelo, did you guys hear what he said after the fight? I talked about this a little bit with Gary before the show, but I have the audio pulled. He was asked to compare Bud Crawford and Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, yeah.
I deserve all the credit. No, I try my best tonight. I just cannot figure out the style. He have everything. I try my best tonight.
Compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terrence Bud Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Here's what I think about Floyd. Floyd may be the smartest boxer out of the ring because he was so strategic in who he fought, when he fought them, especially in the latter stages of his career, that he would not go up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo, right? Pacquiao's on the downside and so many others were on the downside, and he's a pitter-pat puncher. I get it. But he was so smart and strategic as to when he fought to build an unbeaten career, whereas Bud was always searching out the greatest challenge that he could face in the ring and prove how smart of a boxer he was. That's the way I could compare the two. Floyd's great, but I suppose if you put Floyd and Crawford in the ring at the same time in their prime, Crawford would figure out a way to get it done.
Well, and the difference is Floyd Mayweather, if you go back and remember that fight against Canelo just couldn't touch Floyd, and Floyd did enough to get the decision. You look at that fight, Bud beat him up last night.
Yeah.
Bud beat him up.
There was a time too, fellas, with Canelo where he was huffing and puffing. He was frustrated. He was kind of chasing around the ring, and he kept just getting slapped back by really good combinations by Bud. But he was frustrated after about the 6th. Every time they go do the corner shot where they'd have Canelo's people, I mean, you could just tell the body language, like, I don't know how I can get this guy. That's what it looked like to me.
For all of them. Yeah. Everybody in that corner.
I mean, you look at who looked gassed early on. It was Canelo. You know, the other great shot is Terrence III is one of his boys is up holding the belt. That was an iconic shot. You know, I mean, there's just so many great things. And Bud goes at it hard. And, you know, Bud can be humble, but he's really not humble. You got to listen to him closely. I mean, here's a guy whose mom, when they were growing up in Omaha, his mom paid other kids in the neighborhood to jump Bud to toughen him up. I mean, that's a story he's told before. It's a great story of somebody who, you know, wanted to be the best, pursued the best, and took on this fight. And, you know, if you listen, which, you know, I didn't know Mario Lopez hosted boxing on Netflix, but that's where we were last night.
He was 51, by the way.
When Bud, when Bud was telling the story about, you know, he hasn't fought very much, and people say, okay, who do you want to fight? And they say, why don't you fight Canelo? And everybody's like, no, you can't do that. Or you have to fight some more before you get ready for Canelo. And Bud was like, now let's do it. I mean, that's who Bud Crawford is. And, you know, that's why I think the symbolism between Nebraska football and the message they're trying to present and what Bud has done is pretty unique. So I look forward to him being back here. You know, it wasn't too long ago. It was like probably up until about 3 years ago when they would go and fight, whether it be they went over and fought in Scotland with his first first belt when he beat Ricky Burns, or when they fought in Vegas and also in Los Angeles recently, up until about 3 years ago, they used to fly commercial. Yeah, there was no private plane. He would fly commercial. So you might be at Epley, and all of a sudden, here comes the champ, you know, with all of his entourage, getting off a commercial plane from like Denver.
That's classic.
Man of the people. I love it. Well,
he is. You know, when they used to have the Omaha Metro Summer League basketball league around here, Bud was on a team. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bud would come and he would play basketball. He loves basketball. He probably would tell you his greatest sport by far is boxing. His favorite sport is basketball.
Some of his nephews have played over the years for
Omaha. Brian, his alma mater.
The Metro, for Brian, and there's a handful of years I got to do Brian games, either up in your neighborhood or Brian teams had come play Lincoln schools, and we'd do a Brian game a year, and guess who's in the old North Star gym? Hey, Bud, what's up, dude?
He's a good dude, man. He just he is Omaha, he is Nebraska, and damn, he's really friggin' good.
Now, I want to go back to one thing you said, Gary, about his mother, because he has told that story before. His mom's told that story before, where growing up, she would tell him, and this is a direct quote, Bud, you won't be shit. That was a direct quote from his mom. And then, she offered money to kids in the neighborhood to jump him and beat him up. Let that be known. That is not parenting advice. Just because Bud Crawford came out of that, there's only one Bud Crawford. Not if you have a young kid at home, Don't do that. Not good parenting advice. It worked out in this case. That doesn't mean you should do it. I just want to throw that.
That's pretty good ROI.
This public service announcement brought to you by Elijah on this. What kind of public service announcement is we'll get to some of your comments in the stream. Gary Sharp, Bill Doleman, Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, Sunday Live, Average Joe Sports Show. Tell a buddy about us, like and subscribe. Fellas, with Bud, it'll be really just an awesome kind of victory lap for sure this week for him with all he's accomplished. And Memorial Stadium will be nuts next Saturday, not only with him being a part of it, but with what the opportunity presents. Let's get on to Nebraska, Michigan real quick.
Well, one thing, but Bud, even if he doesn't show up, they're going to put something on the big screens. Yeah, I do think that they're reaching out. They're making making the effort. If I'm Matt Rule, I have Bud walk into my football team meetings and just put belts on the desk and walk out. And then for the tunnel, I just think you let him walk out all by himself. I don't think he leads the team. I think it's all him because he's the greatest of all time. And give him his honorary doctorate and ask him for donations. But I mean, it's just great for Nebraska. But good on him, and what a great ambassador. And he looked pretty after the fight. He didn't even get touched.
No. He was smiling in the ring.
So anyway, go on to break down Houston Christian.
Good work. I love the counter tray. Gary Sharp called a scoop and a score. I mean, we're good.
Wow.
The crystal ball was out, and Nebraska continues to gear up.
Listen. They are 3-0, and they've done what they're supposed to do. They played tomato cans the last 2 weeks, and they beat the crap out of them. Okay, they didn't dance with them. They got tested by Cincinnati. They learned some things against Cincinnati. We're about to find out how much growth they've had individually or as a team. But you can't ask for any more. They got through it healthy. They got through it without their quarterback turning the ball over. They got through it with more guys playing that get experience that are going to play more as the Big Ten season is upon us. Nothing more you can ask for. It's a great opportunity. Michigan, they had a get-right, feel-good game, but it was against Central Michigan. Their identity might be different with an interim coach, what they do with Bryce Underwood. This is why you're at Nebraska, is to play in helmet games. At 2:30 on CBS on a Saturday, the weather's going to be great, 90,000 people there, and you just let it rip. You'll get your flowers like Bud, or people will doubt you, and, you got to move on to the next challenge.
Guys, who's the better freshman quarterback? Is it Bryce Underwood or TJ Lateef?
Good question, Elijah. No, I'm fascinated, man. I can't wait to see Nebraska and how they perform in the moment. I mean, I can't wait for that opportunity. We have covered a lot of big games at Memorial Stadium over the years. My wife is mocking me right now.
Day that ends in Y.
Yeah, right. She's just like, oh yeah, good point. But no, the opportunity is fantastic, and you want to see how this team handles the moment. And do they freeze in the moment, or do they thrive in the moment? And everything that Matt Rule's told them to do, if they've listened and went after it, it's made them better and it's prepared them. Yep. So they should be able to handle this week like any other week and just go seize the opportunity. This doesn't make your season. This doesn't end your season, but it really absolutely helps enhance your season. It's a reinforcer, and it's a statement.
Yeah, it's a litmus test to see where you're at 4 games into the season. Mm. But but at the end of the day, I was keeping an eye because Michigan and Nebraska were playing at the same time, and they took the training wheels off Bryce Underwood compared to the previous week against Oklahoma. I think, guys, and there's going to be plenty of storylines. This is going to be fun to talk about on talk radio throughout the week. Is Nebraska has to find a way to score points, because outside of Wisconsin, against Power 4 competition, whether it be Satterfield or Dana, they haven't put up a lot of points. Oklahoma, with a guy who is one of the top 3 in the Heisman right now in Mateer, they only put up 24. So can Nebraska find a way to cure their red zone issues or at least say what we've done yesterday is we've cured them. Can they find a way to score at least 3 touchdowns in this football game? And they might need another one.
Yeah, I think your 30-point number is very real. This one, that sounds like a lot of points against a Michigan defense. I still have images of, Michigan's last couple of teams, but this year's team has a good secondary. They have a good pass rush. The problem was offense, right? It was what are you going to let your quarterback do? And then, that was a hell of a good warm-up game for Underwood. 9 carries, 114 yards, and using his mobility. I think that is such a key for Saturday with Nebraska. Is all right. Is it Cincinnati 2.0 with a phenom, or are you better from when you played a mobile quarterback in Arrowhead? That's going to be a thing to watch this week and see what unfolds Saturday.
And to me, the ultimate, the defensive game plan has got to be you make Bryce Underwood go up against the strength of your defense, which is your secondary. You have to make him a pocket passing quarterback. Don't look, in my opinion, you don't look for sacks next weekend from your defensive line. Look from your defensive line to keep Bryce Underwood in the pocket, make him beat him with his arm. If Nebraska can do that, I feel great about Nebraska's chances to go out and win this football game. Bryce Underwood through the air is still a freshman.
Yep.
And he's going to continue to be a freshman for a while. It's tough. And I think Nebraska's secondary is as experienced as they are, with John Butler's experience confusing NFL quarterbacks. It's a tough ask for Bryce Underwood to beat Nebraska if he has to do it with his arm. But if he's able to run roughshod against the defense, break contain, pick up first downs, it might be a long day for Nebraska. That's what it comes down to for me this week. Can that defensive line maintain rush lane integrity, keep him in the pocket? You can win this game with 0 sacks if you keep him in the pocket. I see it being very tough to win this football game if Bryce Underwood's out there rushing for 80-plus yards and a couple touchdowns.
He's not played in the atmosphere he's going to play in on Saturday. That is a huge thing. Michigan's going to be faster than Akron, the worst team that's come to Memorial Stadium perhaps ever. Houston Christian, the most overmatched team in the history that's ever come into Nebraska Memorial Stadium. Nebraska's had 2 adequate sparring partners. And one thing that I've liked in the last couple of games is the tackling has been sure. Other than the 45-yard touchdown run, which their coach even admitted was a broken play on their part. But if you got a chance to rattle him, he's going to be rattled with the atmosphere, and you got a chance to rattle him early, it could affect how the whole game goes if you're a true freshman. It's just going to be a different atmosphere at Memorial Stadium, and maybe peak level, especially if Nebraska scores early. That'll be a really big deal in terms of how the rest of the game plays out.
Guys, let's talk. Go ahead, Sharpie.
I think they benefit from playing at Oklahoma and playing against Oklahoma, but we don't know. Do they look completely different with an interim coach? Sharon Moore is not pulling the strings on Saturday. They certainly did yesterday, what they did with Underwood. I mean, there's a lot of guys on that roster who played in big games. So, I don't expect them to be rattled, but it's a freshman playing his 4th game of his career, and it's the $10 million man against the $3 million man. Ding, ding, touch gloves.
You have your own $3 million man, and it'll be interesting to see how Dylan thrives, right? I mean, keep doing what you've been doing, running the offense, making great decisions, getting help. You've got a good receiving core that you can lean on. You've got Emmett. You're going to have to make some plays, make some throws, man. Go let her rip. And if you're Dylan, you were brought in, you were paid, you were recruited for this game and many more like it to flip this football program.
I agree. Michigan's got veteran players, but it's still the freshman quarterback that atmosphere could get to him and make mistakes. Nebraska's got to tackle him, that's for sure, and keep him contained. But I think
the legally buzzed Memorial Stadium.
What's that?
Said it's a legally buzzed Memorial Stadium.
Right. Yeah.
Guys,
I mean, it's no major pregame show is going to be here.
Well, I was going to ask, if your college game day, are you kicking the tires on Bud Crawford being your celebrity picker coming to Lincoln?
Haven't they? They've already selected where they're going, though.
Have they already? I didn't.
Yeah, I think they're going to Coral Gables.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's,
Oh, that I see it now. It was.
so the two best games. Well, I think they wanted to go to Columbia, and then South Carolina got beat.
Got rocked.
And if Michigan was unbeaten, they're probably here. Big Noon is going to Salt Lake City, and then Indiana, Illinois is the NBC game. So, but would it surprise you guys if the highest rated game in terms of eyeballs is Nebraska, Michigan because of the helmets and the brands, and it's Big Ten, and it's on a good slot at 2:30 on CBS?
Oh, it's going to be this is what folks are going to tune in for. There's a lot of things that have gone the right way for Nebraska so far here in year 3. I mean, you've cranked out 4 consecutive wins going back to the bowl game. You have a chance to take down a ranked team and start changing that narrative with how you perform against ranked teams. Take care of your own backyard with a home win. And you haven't beaten Michigan since Tommy Armstrong and Amir put their Superman cape on, and Randy Gregory went off. I mean, that was so. There's a lot of things that you can check off here, and that's what I'm interested in seeing.
You guys think Nebraska will be ranked?
They win, yeah.
No. Do you think they'll be ranked today?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I think they're right on the fringe. It's kind of like my approach shot.
There's a couple teams. Vandy. Vandy wasn't ranked going into last night, were they?
No, but they went and beat number 11 on the road last night.
They'll be ranked. Georgia Tech will be ranked. There are teams in that others receiving votes category that deserve to jump up into the top 25. A win over Houston Christian isn't going to do it for the folks out there. Personally, if things went a little differently in college football yesterday, maybe. I mean, does South Florida now drop out after a loss to Miami? I think probably not. They're probably between 21 and 25 still. So
does Clemson drop out?
Ooh, that's interesting.
They should.
Well, maybe
Notre Dame does.
Nebraska might be ranked in that the USC beat reporters poll, so that she might be giving Nebraska top 25 or top 15 props. Who knows?
She'll probably move up Clemson.
Notre Dame and Clemson are getting a bump because she's going to go. There was a hold on the final pass, the touchdown pass by Texas A&M. They didn't call, so Notre Dame doesn't deserve to be penalized.
There you go.
That was assault. That wasn't a hold. Did you see Trev's tweet this morning?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's touching on Jesus wearing A&M jersey.
Wow.
Trev put good.
Yeah, I couldn't. I had to turn that off once the Colts started, swaying in the stands.
I know that was a little funky to watch, but good football. Good football. Sharpie, I know you got to bounce out, but we're looking forward to an incredible weekend of college football, and of course, weekend edition. We're at Salt Mine Brewing, 8th and R, as Michigan has commandeered the graduate and the single barrel. Every time they come to town, they take over. That's where they stay. That's where they rent, and good on them. I mean, they're spending a pretty penny, but we get booted.
But before we get Sharpie out of here, and Sharpie, I know you got to rock, I do have to ask the question as we preview over the next 5 days this game. It's going to be fun. But are you looking more at the offense or at the defense this week, or as the unit that needs to step up if Nebraska goes and gets the win next weekend? Oh, you're muted.
I know it'd be easy to say offense or defense because of Underwood. I think this is Dana Holgerson against Wink Martindale. I think Nebraska has to find a way to score points.
I love that preview. Dana against Wink.
Yeah.
Well, as I said yesterday, Nebraska's going against an interim named Biff, an OC named Chip, and a DC named Wink. And all we got is Matt, Dana, and John.
Tuesday nights at 7 on ABC.
It's not quite Flounder, Otter, or Pinto. Sharpie, have a good call tonight, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Man, there he is. The Iron Horse off to do soccer on ESPN. Good for him. Data v. Wink, man. And as we look at Nebraska's red zone trips, we were touching on this yesterday in the glorious post game that was Houston Christian with Real Red Reaction. Is there a concern level you put on with Nebraska's red zone? Because that'll be focused on and drilled upon, and Matt Rule, I'm sure, will talk about tomorrow in his media session, or be asked about with, you're worried about the red zone. I don't know that worry is there. The consistency part, I know, probably drives Dana nuts because he wants to be 10 out of 10 in the red zone. Now, Nebraska's scored every time except for the one fumble and the goal line stoppage. But for the most part, Nebraska can't just line up, or you've not seen it, line up and just run it in. Fine. Maybe that's not your strength, but it seems like they're trying to still find that bread and butter play, Elijah and Billy D, that you go to. It's like your 2-point conversion. You have 2 or 3 2-point conversions that are your money plays when you have to have it in the red zone.
And what I've noticed from Nebraska is down inside the 5 especially, their game plan, if it hasn't been a fade route, has been, we're going to go mano-y-mano, put a hat on a hat. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be tougher than you. We're going to power it into the end zone. It hasn't worked.
Right.
And it's concerning when that doesn't work against Houston Christian and it doesn't work against Akron. My question is, does Dana have some tricks up his sleeve that he's been saving for a game like Michigan? So every time they pull up the film, they're seeing, okay, Nebraska down inside the 5. They want to go mano-y-mano, physical, tough, Big Ten traditional football to power it into the end zone. Has Dana seen enough to say, okay, you know what? This hasn't worked. We have some tricks up our sleeve. We're going to pull them out against Michigan, things that they're not going to see on film to get away from that, because it just simply put has not worked. And if it had worked against Houston Christian, against Akron, you probably keep rolling with it against Michigan. Now my question is, what does Dana have up his sleeve to give as a counter to that? So Michigan's caught off guard on Saturday when Nebraska's down inside the 5, because I am ready to say I am out on the experiment of Nebraska going mano-y-mano. It worked last year. I don't think you have the running back to do it this year necessarily with Emmett Johnson. He is not a get downhill power. If there's a guy one-on-one in the goal line, he's not going to power through that guy into the end zone. So my question is, what does Dana have up his sleeve as a counter to that next week against Michigan?
It seems as though they become so predictable when they get down. One thing about the red zone, it's the inside the 5 stuff that is what's mystifying, because they get inside the 5 and it seems the first play is a pass. Then they try to run, get a couple of yards, end up 3rd down and goal at the 2, and then throw a fade. And it's just like Raiola has one option. I'm just going to throw that fade to the right side, and it does not work all that often. But there's a predictable pattern to pass, run. Well, we got to pass it again. Up until Janiron Bonner got hurt, anytime you would see him lined up in the slot with the ball inside the 5,
reverse.
It was reverse. It was that reverse action, touch pass, and see if he could get in or not. Nebraska ran that all the time, and so I would expect that they would find somebody else who could do that. Walter points out, Carter Nelson has 0 catches on the season. The guy's a high jump champion, and he's 6'5". If you're going to throw a pass down there, why not make a guy like that your target? And yeah, they may know that he's the target, but he's a still 6'5" high jump champion. You'd think he could go get a pass, from the 5-yard line and bring it down. But as for all the creativity that they have shown the last couple of weeks with receivers running in patterns, and yeah, they went deep against a hapless team. God bless Houston Christian. Again, the most overmatched team I think that has ever come to Memorial Stadium. So yeah, you do try things that you haven't been able to do. Stretch the field, throw the bomb, see what happens. You had countless receivers running free yesterday. Michigan's going to be a half step to a full step faster on the whole field, but inside the 5, there's very little creativity that's having any result with points on the board. And I know our good friend NASCAR Eric just said in the stream, running game out of the shotgun is annoying. I honestly think it might be your best bet inside the 5, because Nebraska, whenever it's in a phone book, whenever they've gone double tight with a fullback or 2, whenever you bring Cam Linhart into the game and it's mano-y-mano, Nebraska's not been able to get push up front. I think Emmett Johnson's strength is stretching the field out, getting a lighter box, getting your offensive lineman one-on-one blocks, letting Emmett Johnson pick his spot, as opposed to
hey, we're just going to have a massive humanity inside and we're going to power through into the end zone.
Can I ask the question? I mean, what, just because they may suspect you're going to run it left, good luck. Try and stop it. If you've got Lenhart leading the way, if you got 3 backs in the backfield, all right, or you got a Harburg, Lenhart, Emmett combo, and you go with that extra air quote tight end where it is Turner. On that left side, you put Pritchett in. You have Gatula, and you have Henry. Who the hell's going to stop that push if you need 2 yards? Even if they know
Akron and Houston Christian, that's who's going to stop it. It's been the last 2 games. It's like it feels like it should work, but whenever you've been consistently stopped inside the 5 by Akron and Houston Christian, I think something's got to change. And maybe they got more up their sleeve that they're not showing because they want to catch Michigan a little off guard in terms of bringing in extra linemen. And we haven't seen Lenhart. They pulled out in the Akron game. We didn't see it against Houston Christian. So like maybe
well played, Kobe.
Sleeve, but
thank you. Well played, Kobe. A false start. You're right, but
well, they also had 5 guys in the backfield on that play too, so it wasn't going to work no matter what.
Listen, Nebraska. I wonder if there's this philosophical difference. I wonder if the head man wants to power it in, and Data doesn't probably care, but from the Pirate would throw the ball into the end zone in the red zone a lot, right? I mean that style of offense, the air raid. I know he's said he's been kicked out of the air raid club, but how do you want to score your touchdown? Do you want to throw it or do you want to run it? You do what your team does best. And I mean, if I'm Donnie, that should be mandatory that you go get yourself a yard and you get in the end zone. The other part of it too, we look at the Harburg sneak, right? That didn't happen. And that's happened a couple of times where you've been stoned. Was that 2 weeks ago against Akron? It's blurry.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just figure it out. Don't overthink. Just go make it happen. But it is going to come down to 7s over 3s if you're Nebraska. I mean, I think the point total too. It'll be interesting to see where Nebraska goes with what it's going to take to win and how they get there. I mean, are they going to be able to put a 12-play drive together? How many of those can you get against Michigan? How many big plays do you have? They've been averaging 5 or 6 gash plays the last 2 weeks. Your explosives were better. You've been able to see yourself do those. Can you go back and have explosives against a team like Michigan? What team does that better next Saturday?
Getting back to the inside the 5. Sorry, Elijah, but I wanted to get this out before I forgot it at my age. But the most efficient inside the 10 and inside the 5 offenses the last couple of weeks, and I know it's Akron and Houston Christian, but TJ Lateef has been more effective in leading Nebraska's offense 10 yards than Dylan Raiola. And it comes down to the fact that he is a better runner and certainly a more willing runner. He got in against Akron. He got in against Houston Christian, had 1 taken off the board that he should have at least 3 rushing touchdowns. So there is that threat that you have a running quarterback who can scramble around and sprint and score from 5 yards out if he's looking to pass. Dylan starts to run, there's an immediate crash that we can get him before he gets there. TJ has seemed to be much more elusive if he's got to scramble around, find a crease, and get there. So they've been more efficient relative to the opponent. And others have scored too. Ives and Emmett Johnson when TJ Lateef has been quarterbacking inside the red zone.
I wonder, let me ask the question out loud here. What you usually want down inside the 5 is a very physical and powerful runner that even if it is one-on-one in the goal line, you like your odds on their chances to take the contact, power forward, get that extra yard or 2 into the end zone. Who is Nebraska's power back? Who is Nebraska's guy with the ball in his hands that you think that guy is going to lower the boom and fall forward?
It's still Ramir Johnson.
or Emmett Johnson.
I was
No,
gonna say,
I said it's still Ramir Johnson.
right. He doesn't run with the physicality that Dante Dowdell ran with last year. The problem for Dowdell was he would run hard and then try to jump over like Walter Payton. That didn't work out very well. But he was much more of a physical punishing runner inside than Emmett Johnson is. Emmett's elusive, always has been. That's been his card. But you're right. You don't play consistently with the fullback. Then you put in Ty Robinson or Elijah Judy or whomever else they're putting in that fullback position, changes the dynamic a little bit. But in terms of somebody who's going to hammer it home, that was Gabe Irvin's slot for a couple of years after he got hurt. He was the guy that had, the horsepower to power it in. And, he's obviously not around anymore, but they don't have a back like that.
The guy that I think I had in mind is a guy that's no longer playing, Janiron Bonner. These struggles inside the 5 have come after Nebraska lost Janiron Bonner. So don't underestimate that loss when Nebraska is in a goal line package. Mm-hmm. I wonder if your most physical runner down inside the 5 is that Heinrich Harburg? I said it yesterday on the postgame show. Remember that Blake Bell package that they'd pull out of Oklahoma back in the day, where they'd line up their tight end, former quarterback in the shotgun, let him just play power football, take the snap, power forward for a yard or two, and hey, occasionally we're going to have the other tight end sneak out over the top. We're going to have that little Tim Tebow pop pass. Is that something you can get installed to just put Heinrich Harburg in the shotgun, let him power forward, pick his spot, get into the end zone? I don't know, but don't sleep on the loss of Janiron Bonner as being an issue when Nebraska gets down inside the 5 over the last 2 games.
I cannot tolerate offensive coordinators who have to be cute inside the 5. And I don't think that's Dana. That's not a shot at him. That's not an accusation. I think he's incredible. But you've seen it too many times over the years with past offensive coordinators here where got to show off my playbook, and I'm not here for it. Run the football, fall forward, and if you got to play action, find the tight end, good. Do it. You've got tight ends to choose from, but don't, a week from today, the storyline can't be Nebraska just couldn't make it happen in the red zone. It can't be a thing we're talking about for Nebraska. Find another way to come up short or get beat in another area of the game. And quite honestly, go seize the opportunity you have in a week. That's the biggest thing to me is I want to see Nebraska play fast and furious and loose in the moment. They've had moments like this in the past, and it didn't happen for them, or they were an underdog and it was a nice, they would have upset somebody or challenged somebody. But right now, this is for continual progress. This is to stay unbeaten. This is a chance to go 1-0 in conference play, and it's a chance to hammer a national brand that may not be as bright as they used to be, but they're still in that club because they're not far removed from a championship team. They still have elite, amazing talent on that roster. They got Ernest Hausman, man, who's a hell of a football player that is coming back home. So there's a ton of storylines, but go figure it out. Go make it happen next Saturday for Nebraska. You've built for this moment, but don't let it kill you if you're not ready, or they're just better than you.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out. I think most people around here are feeling pretty good about Nebraska. I said it on the postgame show yesterday. If Nebraska had beaten Akron 38-17, Houston Christian 31-14, yeah, they're 3-0. But would you be feeling the same way about Nebraska with close but not dominant wins, and they're 3-0? How would you be feeling about Nebraska going into Saturday's game against Michigan? Probably differently.
Big time.
Okay. Doing what they have done. Cincinnati was competitive, probably more so than it should have been. You did what you did with Akron and Houston Christian. How would you be feeling about Nebraska if they were going to Ann Arbor this weekend as opposed to being at home? We've talked about the Bud entry, the fans, Underwood playing on the road. Would you feel like this team had done enough sparring against its partners that when they boarded the flight to Las Vegas to fight at Allegiant Stadium or Ann Arbor, Michigan, and go to the big house, would you feel like, yeah, this team has done enough to do what Bud did and go out and surgically beat your opponent?
Well, Nebraska is a 3-point home underdog against Michigan, which means on the road, would it be 6.5? Is that what it would be?
Yeah.
6.5 underdog. I'll put it this way. I would take Nebraska plus 6.5 if they were going to Ann Arbor this weekend.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'd take them to win, but I still like their odds to go out there and play a competitive football game.
Well, and I'm interested too to see Nebraska's consistency stopping the run. I mean, Michigan's got a good line. They've got 2 good backs. You may have a higher element of quarterback run to that run game. We'll see if it was just what Biff wanted to do yesterday against Central Michigan with the quarterback run game, or if it's here to stay. You don't run him against that team unless you think you need to get a little variety in the backfield. So, does Nebraska against the run next Saturday? They don't have to be perfect, but they have to be good. Can they be good for 4 quarters against the run? And they looked better again against an inferior opponent, but they made some adjustments. I mean, you saw how active the backers were when Nebraska had 2 guys going in that zone read situation. You had a guy crashing down at the end. You had a guy going up the middle. You got better line play. I hope for Nebraska's sake, Gabe Moore's all right. And I know he just kind of walked off under his own power. I think Gabe Moore is somebody you're going to need snaps from next Saturday. You need Pet Shock to keep playing on fire. And what do you get from Elijah Judy? Van Poppel made a monster play. All that guy does is make big plays. Stops at Illinois, blocks a field goal, and then the strip sack for Winery to go loaf of bread with the football and bumbling, stumbling, rumbling into the end zone from 29 yards out. So, I want Nebraska's defensive line, all this collection of talent they've recruited or gone to the portal for. I want those guys to feast if I'm a Nebraska fan next Saturday. Go make Underwood's life hell. I mean, it's an attitude game as much as anything, too.
And I'll also add, what makes it a hell of a lot harder for Michigan to run their offense the way they want to run their offense? If Nebraska's offense goes out there and puts up 30-plus points.
Sure.
If you make Michigan play from behind and think, man, we need to get points here, we can't have a plodding 6 or 7 minute long drive that we want because we're down 2 scores. It changes how Michigan wants to play offense. So I know a lot of people say that the best offense is a good defense. Next week might be the other way around. The best defense might be a good offense for Nebraska. If you get Michigan down and take them away from what they want to do offensively because they say, you know what, we're going to need Bryce Underwood to drop back and beat him with his arm. It makes Nebraska's job a lot easier. So that's one thing I am looking for is can Nebraska's offense with Dylan Raiola, those wide receivers, can they get some big plays? Can they jump out to a lead against Michigan?
I don't think you can get cute with the coin toss, and think, okay, if Nebraska wins the coin toss, we're going to send our offense out there and send a message. I still think the ability to defer and whatever the conditions are, play with them in the second half are vitally important.
Well, yeah,
that said, Nebraska has to. Those first couple of drives are going to be vitally important. What if Nebraska can force a 3-and-out or a 6-play and a punt on Michigan's opening drive? Again, I think the atmosphere is going to be electric, and you can be Michigan, but you still can't stop being a freshman. And we watched a little bit last night. Lagway at LSU, the quarterback for Florida, Jeff Lagway, who's always compared with Raiola because they're 2 5-stars going in at the same time. Once he made a couple of mistakes, he was not the same quarterback. The pick 6, not the same quarterback. That is an incredible atmosphere. And if you don't have that poise and you can't collect yourself, it's going to be tough. So if Nebraska forces a 3 or 6-and-out offensive or defensively at the beginning, and Nebraska gets the ball and scores on a kind of a methodical march, mixing the run, the pass, and goes up 7-0, I think the dynamic of that game changes. But if Michigan comes out and they have a 10-play drive, march it down, go up 7-0, that's going to be the punch that Alvarez never landed on Bud. and Nebraska's crowd's going to be trying to get back into it. And if Nebraska goes 3-and-out, first quarter's owned by Michigan, buzzkill and maybe game over.
Well, and if you're Nebraska, you got to not be too worried about focusing in on the ebbs and the flows of what will finish you. I mean, from a mentality standpoint, just go play, right? Go play 4 quarters and be resilient. And I think this team can do that. But this will be their first real opportunity to show that they've arrived. I mean, you want to talk about relevancy, all these things Matt Rule's hit on. Go beat a beatable Michigan team in your house. You're supposed to be able to do that if you're Nebraska, and you haven't been even close to being on that par. You've tried to resurrect, and this doesn't mean you're a playoff team if you win Saturday, but it does tell you something the other way, that you still got a ways to go where you can't take down a 1-loss Michigan team with a freshman quarterback and an interim head coach. So
don't you think this is a playoff game for Nebraska tomorrow?
You could say it keeps you in the conversation, right, to be one. You got to have Saturday to even have a discussion point on Saturday. What this does, I mean, Arrowhead's so important, man, where they went and made a play in a tight ball game. For whatever reason, you allowed it to be a tight ball game, but you finished it. That's what this Saturday may be as well, and you got it at home. You can't have that lump in your throat, mess in your pants situation in a tight game. That's got to be gone. You've got to thrive and be excited for the moment. That's why you play the game. But what Saturday will do is continue to reinforce that things are going right for you. Continue your confidence. It shouldn't obliterate it unless Michigan goes 45-7 on you again, and that isn't going to happen.
But think of all the teams already this season that were in the playoffs conversation that are
Irish,
probably
Clemson,
out now.
gone.
Right. Irish, Clemson, Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of teams that already are thinking Orlando's nice at the holidays.
Well,
they treat us well in Tucson, so that'd be one to play for. So I look, Michigan's going to probably lose 3 games this season. And so if Nebraska loses at home, and I know they've got algorithms and all that, but still the eye test, shirts and skins, who wins? Nebraska is 3-0. Michigan comes to town. They don't get it done. To me, Nebraska is now experiencing the college football playoff. They don't have the cachet to lose a game like Notre Dame, to lose a game, and then, okay, here's our path back. Unless Nebraska runs the table the rest of the season, I don't think anybody thinks that they're going to do that. So a game like that, I think the same for Michigan too. They've got to beat Nebraska, or just, don't even think about the CFP. Try to remember that you've beaten Ohio State the last 3 or 4 years in a row, and that's your whole season right there. But if Nebraska lays an egg at home against Michigan, the playoff discussion is over.
I'm not even concerned about the playoff discussion for Nebraska. I just let's talk and see where Nebraska is at after Michigan. Minnesota looks beatable. I mean, I was kind of surprised that they didn't get it done against Cal last night.
Boy, no kidding.
Right? I mean, Cal's a shell of what they've been, and that's a game you go figure out and find a way if you're Minnesota with your offensive line and your ground game. USC looked a little bit more mortal against Purdue yesterday, but
wasn't Minnesota down their starting running back last night?
Well, if that was true, if that is true, then that's a big that's a big thing.
But still,
Minnesota was down there starting running back.
Okay, but still, that wasn't a close game, was it?
27-14.
Okay, 2 scores is
He's worth 2 scores to me.
okay. Well, but if you're a Big Ten school, you got to have depth and backups, and you got to be able to win a game like that. If you're Minnesota, okay, you're starting guys down, next man up. They still have the same offensive line, still the same quarterback. If one player is worth 2+ scores against a team like Cal, who's 3-0, I'm not. That's not having their back out is not forgivable. May have changed a little bit, but you still got beat. You still gave up 27 points.
Well, your offense was, I mean, you only had 14 points. You know, that's garbage. You only got 2 touchdowns on the road. That's, I mean, you went 7 of 15 on third down. You threw for 205. It's an offensive line problem. I mean, you only ran for 130 yards and you had 8 penalties. So, no, that's no good. So, USC looks less Ivan Drago-ish.
They still look dangerous.
They look great, though. I mean, they still look really good.
Look, they played in the toughest stadium in America to play, next to the old Northwestern Stadium, the Schnapps Stadium. Where if you can hear the bottle of schnapps fall over, there's nobody there. So it was rainy yesterday. I think that's forgivable. It's a tough place to get motivated to play, and it was dreary. Maybe that's the way it usually is in West Lafayette. But you went on the road. You won a Big Ten game. You beat Purdue in a very tough place to get motivated to play. Michigan will not have a problem getting motivated to play next week in Lincoln. No. They're probably jacked about the opportunity to play in front of 90,000 people, which they do more than that at home. But those are the atmospheres you live for, to play a game, not to play a dreary day in West Lafayette, Indiana. So the fact that Nebraska's had plenty of those games in West Lafayette, and we've endured watching them on Peacock. Okay, we know how tough it is to play there. It's a trap, and they survive. So I'm willing to give USC a pass.
There was a play late in that game where USC missed a field goal, and Purdue was down by, that would have been 13 points. They drove the length of the field and had one go to the corner of the end zone. That it was called incomplete. I think it may have been, but it was really
they could have cut it to 6.
Really stinking close, and the replay booth did not buzz down. They kept the play going. Very next play was an interception for USC that iced that football game. Game was a little bit closer in the final score, but USC was still the much better team. Don't get me wrong.
My question is, when they kicked the ball on the field goal and went into the stands, did a student manager walk up to the stands and the ball was just teeter-tottering about 5 rows up because nobody was there to go get it?
That's funny. That's funny. Fellas, we're going to get ready to rock and roll. It is Michigan week. Be sure to tune into us all week long with the Average Joe Sports Show, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. Can hear us on KFOR in Lincoln. Can hear us on News Talk 900 out of Columbus, and find us in central Nebraska, Kearney, Hastings, Grand Island, with the Superstation. And the Tri-City Superstation, excited to continue to be on out there. And hear us on the radio. Find us on the stream, the Average Joe YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the podcast. So can download the audio there. Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. Find Elijah on Twitter, as he'll continue to put up more chinchilla donned Matt Rule pictures this week at Adolescence.
I was going to say, Schmitty, one thing we didn't talk about today, my absolute hot streak with all my picks over the weekend. I only missed one. That was Tennessee and Georgia.
Who picked Georgia?
I picked Georgia, didn't I?
No, you picked Tennessee.
It was 3. The line was 3.5, and I was right.
It was 3.
It's 3.5 in the text you sent.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was a wrong text.
I
2.5. The 2.5 I was giving you.
I'm pretty sure I picked Georgia. Whatever happened there.
Are you going to the book today, brother? Are you gonna apply this incredible run Elijah Herbel's been on to your NFL slate today?
I am not, but I have a best pick for the day for all the Average Joe Sports Show listeners. Broncos -1.5. Am I biased? Yes. Am I wrong? No. The Broncos are covering that 1.5 point line. Book it today.
Okay. All right. Well, Bill, man.
Daniel Jones he's just not going to do anything against the Broncos defense. I got Broncos winning that game somewhere around 24-13.
Okay.
Well, if we're going to talk the NFL, I chose Jaden Daniels to be my quarterback. So if anybody wants to take part in my fire sale,
he's awesome. He's just
not right now. Not yet. Not for me.
Didn't have a good game against Green Bay. Green Bay looks incredible. I mean,
Green Bay looks like their team out of the NFC. That's an overreaction based on the first 2 weeks, but they are different with Micah Parsons on that defense.
No, it is good. Yeah, it's going to be fun, though. I mean, I can't wait for Michigan week. We're going to have a lot of special guests on.
Why does Ed Foley say hold that L for the Canelo loss? I picked Bud. I picked Bud in a close decision.
Same.
So I kind of nailed that pick, actually, Ed.
Yeah, we're excited. We got another Spindler sighting yesterday with Mark Spindler, proud papa of Rocco, to talk Nebraska offensive line. And of course, he knows the Michigan program real well. Mark does. I mean, that was almost where Rocco ended up. So, and then my old boss, Greg Hansen's a big-time Michigan insider, has covered the Wolverines for a lot of his career. He's going to be with us this week. So fired up and ready for it. Be sure to catch Gary and Matt, of course. They're on 1620, 6 to 10, Monday through Friday. So find Sharpie, find us 4 to 6. And we'll be with you throughout the week.
Find me if you want to major in sports broadcasting.
Right. The professor, Bill Doleman, at Bill Doleman on Twitter is where you find him. Fellas, it was awesome to huddle up again for another Sunday Live, and we'll be back with you tomorrow on the Average Joe Sports Show at 4 o'clock. Have a good weekend.